Get ready, Friar Faithful. This is the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network.
Jackson swings, hits it in the air, deep to right field. He has done it again. Unbelievable.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt.
Ultimately, what we're here to do is win.
From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today, the Padres take on the Kansas City Royals in the second game of a three-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today on the mound for the Royals, left-hander Noah Cameron, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi again, everyone. Sam Levitt with you from inside the Western Metal Building here at Petco Park. First pitch coming up at 4:15 p.m. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. I go one-on-one with former Padre and current Royals starting pitcher Michael Wacha. Plus, in a little bit, we check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler, our keys to the game, and much, much more to come. But first, it's time to set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971. With 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres entered today a record of 40-35. Padres not playing their best baseball right now. They've lost 8 out of 11 and 11 of their last 16 games. Meanwhile, the Royals entered today 38-38. They've won 4 games in a row, a 3-game sweep of the Rangers, then last night's series opening win here in San Diego. Before that sweep, the Royals had lost 6 in a row and started June with just a 3-10 record. Before we turn our full attention to today's game, let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
Last night, Bobby Witt Jr. hit a first-inning home run against Nick Pivetta to make it 1-0. Royals still led 1-0 going to the 5th inning. There were 2 on for Jonathan India.
India hits it high and deep to left center field. Sheets is back, and this one going to go. About 7 rows up underneath the overhang in left center field. And a 3-run homer for Jonathan India, his 4th of the year. And just like that, luck may have run out for Nick Pivetta. It's 4-0.
So the Padres trailed 4-0 going to the bottom half of the 5th inning. There were 2 on base for Luis Arraez.
1-1. And Arraez lines it into right center field. That's down at a base hit. Brooks is rounding third. He's on his way. Wade is heading to third. He'll be held there. RBI single, Luis Arraez. And the Pods are on the board here in the bottom of the 5th.
Bottom of the 6th inning, Padres got a little bit closer, courtesy of Jose Iglesias.
1-2 the count. Here's the pitch, and Iglesias gets the slider, knocks it into right field, and a base hit. Bogarts will come in to score. Jose Iglesias, a pinch hit RBI single. A 4-2 game here in the 6th inning, and 3 straight Padre hits here with 1 out.
Padres kept on rallying in the 7th. It was Gavin Sheets.
Tying run at second base with 2 outs here in the 7th inning. 0-1 pitch. Sheets hits it up the middle into center to base hit. Arraez has scored. Machado's on his way. This game is tied thanks to Gavin Sheets. 2 runs, single, with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th, and it's 4-4.
We were still tied at 4 going to the 8th inning. Jason Adam came in. 2 on for Royals catcher Salvador Perez.
Reeve and Garcia take their leads. The 0-1 pitch is lined over Machado into left field, a base hit. Sheets charging it. He's got it. Garcia's on his way. Throw to the plate is coming and not in time. Go ahead RBI single for Salvador Perez. And the Royals go back in front. It's 5-4.
Drew Waters hit an RBI single to make it 6-4. Bottom half of the 9th inning, Manny Machado led off.
0-2 to Machado in the air down the right field line. That's headed towards the Petco porch. It's going to go! Apo Taco for Manny Machado. And a 1-run game in the bottom of the 9th inning. It's 6-5.
So the Padres were within one, but the next three hitters went down in order. Final score yesterday in the series opener in San Diego, Kansas City 6 and the Padres 5. And now the Padres trying to bounce back in the middle game of this three-game series. As we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:15, let's go inside the Jerry Coleman Broadcast Center.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
All right, Jesse, let's touch on a couple of things here before we focus on today's game. Some news that I have not got to yet. The Padres making a few moves before today's game. They reinstated Brian Hoeing from the 60-day IL. They optioned Sean Reynolds back to AAA El Paso. They also designated outfielder Jason Hayward for assignment. Jesse, let's focus on the first part of that. Brian Hoeing back in the Padres bullpen. This is a guy that was a big contributor to their pen in the second half of last season, and I think for a few reasons, Jesse, a good guy to have back in that bullpen now.
Oh, absolutely huge. Not only because anytime you can add a quality arm, it's a positive, but he's a multi-inning arm, a guy who's stretched out to give you, 6 or 9 outs or anything in between if need be. And obviously the reality of the moment for the Padres is there be a lot of need be when it comes to getting innings out of relievers. So, this bullpen has really, really been taxed. So adding a guy who's super fresh, who doesn't have, 70 games worth of attrition underneath of his belt, and who's also capable of giving you multiple innings, absolutely huge for this team right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely huge, and I'll talk a little bit later about Jason Hayward and kind of give some perspective on that in a little while. Let's talk about today's game. Interesting pitching matchup here today, Jesse. Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres. As we know, it's been a bit of an up-and-down first half for Cease, but the guy in the mound for the Royals, this left-hander, Noah Cameron, he has been really impressive in his rookie campaign, a sub-2 ERA. What can you tell us from your prep about Noah Cameron, what he's doing right now?
Not to give everybody nightmares, but he's a left-hander who doesn't throw very hard but can locate. Yes, kind of the profile of guys we've seen a bunch the last couple of years who have been perhaps problematic for the Padre offense. We'll see if that continues, but he's been really, really good. And it's kind of fun and interesting because, again, the stuff is not, off the charts. He's not somebody who's got a big fastball and a wipeout slider. He can do a couple of different things pitch-wise. Changeup probably his best pitch in terms of the secondary offerings. As I said, he's not going to throw too hard, but seems like most of the time he knows where it's going. And look, that's the most important thing for any pitcher. And for a young guy to be able to go out and do that, obviously, he can set himself up for some real success. And had a clunker against the Yankees. Really, that's the only bad one so far. Every other start has been really, really good for him. The other thing we know about him is that he works unbelievably quickly. So we'll have to be ready for that on the radios, apparently, especially with nobody on. I mean, he basically gets it from the catcher and throws it right back to him.
Hey, I think we all like guys who work quickly, right? Keeps everybody involved. It may make it a bit difficult to get things, little nuggets in on the radio, but for the game time, that's not the worst thing to hear. But hopefully he's not in there for too long because hopefully the Padres can hit him around a little bit today. Let's talk about the Padres offense, Jesse. It's interesting. They obviously won the game on Thursday in LA. They lost yesterday's game, and I kept saying on the post game yesterday, it just felt like last night they were 1 or 2 swings away from winning that game. They just needed another base hit with runners in scoring position. And I would suppose even though they lost yesterday's game, it feels like to me what the offense has done the last couple of days has been pretty encouraging. What do you think?
Yeah, no, look, there's two parts of that. Is it encouraging? Yeah. Yes. I mean, they had 11 hits on Thursday night. They had 12 hits last night. The reality, right, if they continue to put up double-digit hits, there will be a lot more wins coming. Generally, this team in particular, when they get to 10 or more hits, they win games. Didn't happen yesterday, didn't happen on Thursday. So, yes, that would absolutely be the positive, optimistic sort of way to look at it is, hey, if they continue to get that kind of production, they are going to win more often than not. But both really frustrating kind of situations. Yesterday in particular, they won the game on Thursday. But the game yesterday, that's a tough loss, and it's one where Jason Adam obviously is so good and has been so critical to this team for, almost the last year now since he came over at the deadline. He's been used so much. And to give up the 2 runs that he gave up in the 8th inning yesterday, Very, very tough for him, certainly. And that's a tough loss. That's a very, very tough loss last night.
Well, hopefully the Padres can bounce back here today. We'll see if they can do it with right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound. We'll talk plenty more about him a little bit later. Jesse, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Bob Scanlon coming up at 4:05 p.m. here at Petco Park. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sam.
All right, that is Jesse Ackler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show as we get ready for today's game. A lot to do between now and first pitch. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt coming up in a little bit. If you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can find me on social media on X at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DMs open as well, Sammy Lev there too. You can also find me on the 97.3 The Fan YouTube stream. You can comment on the YouTube stream and let me know who you are, where you're tuned in from. Me just give you a shout out here on the air. Or if you want to give us a key to today's game, you can do that as well. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Plus, a little bit later, I go one-on-one with former Padres starting pitcher and current Kansas City Royal, Michael Wacha. Really, really good conversation with Michael Wacha coming up a little bit later. And we'll also have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, who's hot, who's not, our keys to the game, and a full breakdown of today's starting pitching matchup. First pitch coming up at 4:15 on what is a very sunny, beautiful Saturday here in downtown San Diego. Our pregame coverage continues after this. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building at Petco Park as we get ready for first pitch. Coming up at 4:15, game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Kansas City Royals. Padres losing yesterday's game, a tough one, 6-5, and now they try to look to bounce back in today's game. Right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound for the Padres here today. Left-hander Noah Cameron, rookie left-hander, on the mound for Kansas City. He's been very good so far this season. We'll talk more about that pitching matchup coming up a little bit later. Taking a look at the starting lineups today, they look like this. For the Royals, Jonathan India leading off at second base, Bobby Witt Jr. at shortstop batting second, Michael Garcia at third base batting third, Vinny Pasquantino, the first baseman, batting cleanup, Salvador Perez doing the catching and batting fifth, Jack Caglione in right field batting sixth, Mark Canha in the lineup today DHing and batting seventh, Drew Waters, who had a big base hit last night, in center field and batting eighth, and John Rave in left field batting ninth, with left-hander Noah Cameron on the mound. Meanwhile, for the Padres, their lineup looks like this. Fernando Tatis Jr. in right field leading off. Luis Arraez at first base batting second. Manny Machado in the three spot DHing today. Gavin Sheets in left field batting cleanup. Xander Bogaerts at shortstop batting fifth. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting sixth. Jose Iglesias in the seventh spot playing third base. Bryce Johnson back in the lineup after getting hit by a pitch on Thursday in LA. He's in center field and batting eighth. And Martin Maldonado doing the catching and batting ninth, with right-hander Dylan Cease on the mound. Again, the Padres made a few moves earlier today. They announced that Brian Hoeing has been activated from the 60-day IL. Hoeing had been dealing with a shoulder injury going back to spring training, was on a lengthy rehab assignment at a few different levels, including AA and AAA. So Hoeing back and available in the Padres bullpen for the first time this season. Corresponding move, Sean Reynolds, the right-hander, tall right-hander, was optioned back to AAA, and Jason Hayward was designated for assignment. He had been on a rehab assignment with AAA El Paso. He was DFA'd earlier today by the Padres, so Jason Hayward will not be returning to the Major League club. Just so you know, this was recorded with Mike Shildt before the official moves came down with Hoeing, Reynolds, and Hayward a little bit earlier in the day. With all that said, let's hear from the Padre manager before today's game.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Served up by Sin Lee Food, where fresh meets flavor. Find farm fresh produce, bold Asian spices, and gourmet ingredients at 4665 El Cajon Boulevard. Sin Lee Food, the cook's Asian resource.
To touch on last night, obviously you got to see the game, I'm sure, from a little bit of a different perspective. Just your overall thoughts on last night's game.
Yeah, definitely had a perspective that was different and I didn't enjoy. But I like the way the guys played. I thought we played a good, clean game. We've been playing good, clean baseball. Just hadn't been able to get on top of enough games, at the end of the day with the scoreboard. But the style of play, the at-bats, been consistent. The defense has been clean. The base running's been good. We've been attacking the zone. We were able to fight back last night and put ourselves in position to win a ball game, but they were able to scratch a couple in the eighth and bring it home. So, I'm ready to be back in the dugout tonight.
Much like Thursday, you created opportunities offensively, 12 hits, obviously, had some chances to come back, tie the game again, win the game. I would assume there's always a benefit to knowing that you're creating opportunities with runners on base, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the thing we talked about today with our staff today, just evaluating last night, but just the last couple of games, and what we're this whole game's predicated upon is creating as many advantages as you can every day, and so that's offensively, defensively, pitching, base running, and you want to make sure that you're doing all the things that allow you to give yourself the best chance. And I think we've been able to do that. Specifically to your question about the offense, you take good at bats, you create traffic out there. That's all we can do, and so I do think that's encouraging, and typically it leads to, in my experience, done it a lot and winning a lot is leads to that, shaking hands into the game.
Xander had another really productive night. What are you seeing from Xander at the plate right now?
I'm seeing freedom. I'm seeing him be in the zone, seeing him being aggressive, seeing him drop the ball and use the whole field. When he does that, he's a really talented guy, and he tied a franchise record with 8 consecutive hits, and he's in a really good place.
Brian Hoeing had a locker in the clubhouse today. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to do something with Hoeing. We'll make a move here shortly, figure out exactly what that looks like. But this is a guy that was, one of our top 5 relievers last year in a club that made a run, into the postseason, and had some setbacks in the offseason, setbacks in spring training, and has worked his way back to getting back. And, has had up to 9 outings in his rehab, which is effectively a spring training, and he's ready to get back and compete for us and get after it.
What kind of role do you see him taking on in the bullpen? Because he is a guy that typically has had the ability to go multiple innings.
Yeah, I mean, he's built up for multiple innings. We'll look to give him a soft landing, but, we've had these conversations before about when guys are going to make their debuts and when their soft landings occur. And, we look for them, but the game dictates it, and other variables are attributed to it. But, he was in a role last year to get out of an inning, get the next inning. He's been on the ground in his rehab. We'll give him a little bit of a softer landing, but, where our bullpen is now, we'll see how it looks.
Jackson Merrill out there today taking some swings. He's out there doing some work in the field. What can you tell us about his progression?
It's favorable. He's looking in a good spot, feeling good, recovered well yesterday. I know he's chomping at the bit. Tomorrow's the day he can come off legally from the concussion protocol. We'll see if medical clears that, but, he's chomping the bit to get back and feeling good and looking like his old self, but we got to make sure and rightfully understandably, ensure that he's healthy.
Jason Adams pitched more than anybody else in the majors. You see any correlation to the stretch that he's been going through to the usage?
Yeah, I mean, we took advantage of some off days. We have pitched him, to your point, a fair amount. I think there's definitely some, guys pitched a fair amount, but he feels healthy. A lot of the measurables, are tracking in a very favorable situation. He's also got he's in a 1.89. He's pitched really well. So, it's one of those things where, we want to be conscious of workloads. We are. He's a little bit ahead, or probably about 8 innings ahead of where he's on schedule for last year. Relative to the days off we've had and been judicious, but he's also had success. So, and he feels good and he wants the ball. So it's a combination of all those things.
Is there a timeline for Suarez, the field process? Like, could you hear about that today, tomorrow?
He's going to get hurt on Monday. Yeah. So we'll make, we're pretty adamant, but we can be as mad as we want, but we're also hopeful, and we can hope as much as we want, but that there would be a reduction in it. We feel strongly that's the case, but we'll find out Monday or Tuesday.
You mentioned honing his importance last year in your bullpen, and not to overlook that, but your guys have done a pretty good job without him in rotation. You've gotten the 3 guys kind of what have you made of the way your pitching staff, despite some of the injuries, the guys that have been here, the way they've stepped up to fill in for those guys?
I was really pleased. I talked with not to be out of school, but talk with the group tomorrow at the hitters in a opposing hitters meeting with our pitchers, and a couple things. Listen, to Jeff's question about Adam. We've had the bullpen's going to take the responsibility of some of the starter misses. Missing Michael. Obviously, Darvish hadn't been here. Clearly, we know Joe wasn't going to be here. But man, gosh, Vasquez and Kolick and Bergert have done fantastic, right? We also want to make sure, and they're starting to be more battle tested. They got some really good experiences, handling them well over in a really tough environment, playoff type environment. So that's a positive moving forward for that group. But you also know that there's, when they're going to get their 5 innings or so, and sometimes that's my decision, sometimes that's a game decision or some combination. That's going to put some more stress on the bullpen. The other thing is we've been able to pass the ball around with the bullpen, so that's been good, and guys have been stepping up. But when you have either area, whether it's the starters or the bullpen that has a little bit of a deficit in depth, as far as when your main guy's going down, it's going to get picked up from somewhere else. And I feel like guys have picked it up very well, and it's not a ideal situation every night, but I do feel like, and I'm a little biased, and I'm really proud of this group. They've been taking the ball, to Jason's point, and done a lot of really good things, but also feel like we've done the best we can to take care of them and then still be competitive.
That was Padres manager Mike Shildt earlier today inside the Padres dugout. Sam Levitt back with you inside the loft here at the Western Metal Building as we continue to get ready for today's game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Kansas City Royals. We'll hear more from Mike on our post-game coverage coming up later on this afternoon. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with the hot category. Gavin Sheets in the midst of a career-high 11-game hitting streak, batting .341 with 7 RBIs in that span. Xander Bogaerts, his last 10 plate appearances, 8 hits and a walk. Luis Arraez also in the hot category in the midst of a 7-game hitting streak, 11 for 33 in that span. In the not category, Martin Maldonado, his last 6 games, a span of 11 plate appearances. He's just 1 for his last 9 after that 2-hit game with a home run against the Dodgers on June 10th. And that is a quick look at who's hot, who's not, as we get ready for today's game. When we come back, we take you around the horn. We'll also hear from Michael Wacha, the Royals starting pitcher and former Padre. Had a great year for the Padres in 2023. I go one-on-one with Michael Wacha, our keys to the game, and much, much more to do. First pitch coming up at 4:15 here in San Diego on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. First pitch is coming up at 4:15 between the Padres and the Kansas City Royals. I go one-on-one with Royals starting pitcher Michael Wacha in just a little bit. He had a great year with the Padres in 2023 alongside Seth Lugo, who's also turned himself into one of the better starting pitchers in the major leagues. We talk about his time in San Diego. We talk about Seth Lugo and working with Ruben Niebla. A really nice conversation and a good catch-up with Michael Wacha. We'll have that for you in just a moment. First, let's take a look at some headlines from around the major leagues.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Let's take you around the horn. We go through some of the injury news across Major League Baseball. We have a number of significant players that were put on the IL in the last 24 hours. Braves placing reigning NL Cy Young Award winner Chris Sale on the 15-day IL earlier today because of a fractured left rib cage. The Orioles also putting their catcher Adley Rutschman on the IL with an oblique injury. Rutschman on the IL for the first time in his career. Also, the Rangers putting Jake Berger with an oblique injury on the 10-day IL as well. In better injury news, Shota Imanaga is scheduled to rejoin the Cubs next week following a good AAA rehab start yesterday. So the Cubs, they have been one of the better teams in the National League this season. They will get Shota Imanaga back in the rotation next week. And that is a look at some of the quick headlines from around the major leagues. Let's give you the latest on Jackson Merrill, who is eligible to come off the IL tomorrow with our injury report.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit him up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Well, Jackson Merrill was on the field earlier today. He took batting practice. He also was out there with a glove doing some fielding work. So we'll see what the deal is with Jackson tomorrow. Mike Shildt would not commit to Jackson coming off the IL tomorrow. He would be eligible to come off that 7-day concussion IL for tomorrow's game. So stay tuned for that. It'll be something to watch early tomorrow if the Padres do indeed activate Jackson Merrill. Again, coming off the concussion IL, he's got to be ready to go and got to get medical clearance. So we'll see what happens with that. I also do want to mention Bryce Johnson, who got hit by a pitch on Thursday in LA, came out of the game. He got hit in the knee with a pitch. And he is in the lineup today for the Padres, playing center field and batting eighth. So good to see Bryce Johnson back in there after taking that hit by pitch and coming out on Thursday. A quick update on a couple of Padres outfielders in Jackson Merrill and Bryce Johnson. Well, Royals starting pitcher Michael Wacha had a great 2023 with the Padres. If you remember, alongside Seth Lugo, they were both really, really good. He had a 3.22 ERA in 24 starts, 130-plus innings for Michael Wacha with the Padres in 2023. And then he ended up signing a long-term deal with the Royals during the offseason. Now his second season with Kansas City. I caught up with the Royals starting pitcher Michael Wacha inside the Royals clubhouse earlier today. Sam Levitt here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for today's game between the Padres and the Kansas City Royals. And right now I'm joined by Royals starting pitcher and former Padre Michael Wacha. Michael, good to have you back in San Diego. How's the road trip been so far?
No, it's great being back here, kind of checking out all the old spots and stuff. But, yeah, no, everything's been going good. So, yep, glad to be here.
What are some of the spots that you enjoy going back to while you're here?
So yesterday morning we had that night game, and so we went over to Coronado Island and just checked out the hotel and did a little beach day type stuff. So it was good getting back out in some good weather and getting to spend some time with the family.
Michael, you won't pitch in this series, but obviously you've done some really nice things with the Royals following up on that season with San Diego. How's it been the last couple of years for you in Kansas City?
No, it's been great. No, we really love Kansas City and, the fans there and the city. And, we couldn't be happier with where we landed for sure.
That 2023 season in San Diego, you put together a really nice year, really big part of that rotation. How do you reflect on that year in particular that really set up the deal that you would sign later with Kansas City?
Well, thank you. No, I enjoyed my time here. That's for sure. That year in 23, it was a lot of fun. We had a really talented team that, we felt like we kind of underperformed as a team and didn't quite, get to where we wanted to be in that season. But, I just remember the relationships that were built, just seeing a lot of the guys across the diamond yesterday and giving some hat tips and stuff, was really cool. So, I think those relationships and those guys that I played with is something that, I'll cherish forever.
Speaking of relationships, when you were here, whether it was you, Seth Lugo, and I'll ask you about Seth in a second, you guys spoke so highly of working with Ruben Niebla during that time. How do you reflect on your season in San Diego from that perspective, working with Ruben?
No, yeah, Ruben was great. Just yeah, building that relationship from the first time I met him in spring training throughout that course of the season, was able to learn a lot and be able to work on a lot of things as well. I credit him with, kind of my curveball now. It's a pitch that he helped me develop a little bit, little grip change there, and was able to get that pitch kind of added to my repertoire for sure. And so, no, he's a great guy. He's very smart, and he's a great communicator, and really, really, really good pitching coach. And those guys are lucky to have him.
We're joined by Royals starting pitcher Michael Wacha as we get ready for today's game. Of course, you came over to Kansas City from San Diego in the same offseason with Seth Lugo, and Seth has been terrific for this Royals team. What was it like coming over with him at that time?
Yeah, it was crazy how it kind of worked out, that we were able to kind of link back up again on the same team, and, kind of just keep on doing what we were kind of doing in San Diego was, keep building on what we had done in that 23 season with the Padres, and, carry that over and keep working to get better, keep adding. And, it's been fun being able to, keep being teammates with Lugo, and hopefully he stays here for a while.
His journey to being the starting pitcher he is now, it's different than yours in the sense that he was a reliever, and then in San Diego finally got that opportunity to start and made the most of it. What's it been like for your perspective to watch his growth from that season in San Diego, where he was kind of proving himself as a starter and building up his innings and all that kind of stuff, to seeing the guy he's becoming now, which is, one of the better starting pitchers in baseball, really?
Yeah, no, he's a frontline starter, and I think he's always had that mentality of knowing that he could be that guy, and so I think that's one of the most important things is believing in yourself to be able to do those things. And no, I've learned so much from him. Just being his teammate with the Mets in 2020, and then being able to link up with him again in 23 with the Padres, and obviously here the past couple of years. But just being able to just talk baseball. He's extremely smart on the mound, and I've learned a lot and want to continue to keep learning from him, just because of the stuff that he can do with a baseball, and his mind out there on the mound is something that I can take a lot from.
Really good insight. Thanks for that. Seth Lugo starting in tomorrow's game for the Royals here in San Diego. I'll finish up by asking you about another one of your teammates, Bobby Witt Jr., obviously one of the young stars in the game. Such a great year in 2024. What's it like watching him every day? For fans in San Diego that, maybe don't see him a ton because the way the schedule works now, you guys come here once every 2 years at minimum, and he's a pretty special player to watch, I'd imagine. Yeah, no, he is an unbelievable talent, and just a great all-around human being, really. He's a stud on and off the field, and I've got some nephews that are kind of growing up and kind of in that baseball scene now, and I tell them, I'm like, hey, watch this guy at all points during the game, whether he's up to bat, in the field, coming on and off the field. He just plays the game the right way, and no, he's an absolute stud that I'm very lucky that I do get to see him play every day, unlike some of these interleague matches that you don't get to catch them but every couple of years. I'm incredibly grateful that I get to see him suit up and do what he does on a nightly basis, and it's a lot of fun to watch. Michael, appreciate the time. Great seeing you back in San Diego. Best of luck to you the rest of this season, and we'll talk to you again down the road at some point. Yep, thanks a lot, Sam.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by El Centro Motors Ford. Meet your new Ford General Manager, Greg Ryan, now at El Centro Motors Ford, your new Ford truck, Bronco, and SUV HQ. Call Greg directly at 619-944-0774.
Couple of quick keys for you before today's game. Key number 1, stop the Royal power surge. The Royals have hit 9 home runs in their 4-game win streak, but they still rank second to last in team home runs this season among all 30 major league teams. For context, the Royals hit just 2 home runs in the 6 games prior to their current 4-game winning streak. Bobby Witt Jr., somebody to watch at the top of this Kansas City lineup. He homered in the first inning last night. He's hitting .329 with 10 extra base hits, 12 runs scored, during a career-high 17-game road hitting streak. Got to keep the Royals and Bobby Witt Jr. in the yard. Key number 2, more Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts has been terrific as of late. He has 8 hits, and he's been on 9 times in his last 10 plate appearances. More good stuff from X. And also Manny Machado. He has been so good for the Padres this season. Manny continuing to head towards that 2,000 hit milestone. He enters today with 1,989 hits. Some run producing from Manny. A good day for X. And also keeping the Royals in the yard, our keys to the game. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
We have a number of games that have gone final today. Giants beat the Red Sox 3-2. Rangers beat the Pirates 3-2. Blue Jays 7, White Sox 1. The Cubs beat the Mariners 10-7. Cardinals over the Reds 6-5 and 11. Brewers beat the Twins 9-0 in Minnesota. Yankees beat the Orioles 9-0 in New York. Rays beat the Tigers 8-3 in Tampa Bay. One game going on right now. Braves ahead of the Marlins 4-0 in the 9th inning in Miami. Games yet to begin. Mets at the Phillies. Diamondbacks at the Rockies. Astros at the Angels, Guardians in Sacramento against the A's, and the Nationals in LA later tonight against the Dodgers. And that's a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. When we come back, we tell you what to watch for and preview today's starting pitching matchup on the Padres Radio Network. Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside the Western Metal Building. First pitch is coming up at 4:15 for Game 2 of this 3-game series between the Padres and the Royals. Let's tell you what to watch for in the middle game of this 3-game set.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game? What does Fernando Tatis Jr. do at the top of the Padre lineup? Here's why. Obviously, Fernando came out of the game on Thursday after getting hit by the pitch in the wrist-hand area, was back in the lineup yesterday. That was great news. But you look at it, his last 4 games now, including the final 3 games of the series in Los Angeles, Fernando is 0 for 13 in those 4 games. So after what looked like a few games where Fernando was starting to come around in a big way, well, now he's 0 for 13 in his last 4 games. Can Fernando get it going again out of that top spot in the Padres lineup? That is what to watch for in today's game. As we know, Fernando so very important to the Padres and their offensive success. Fernando Tatis Jr. has not hit a home run in more than, not more than a month, but nearly a month. He's not hit a home run since May 27th. It sure would be good to see Fernando hit one here today. A look at our starting pitching matchup here today. On the mound for the Royals, left-hander Noah Cameron. On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Noah Cameron comes into this start a 1.91 ERA. He's a rookie left-hander. That is the 6th best ERA among major league pitchers with at least 40 innings of work. Now, 6 of the 9 runs Cameron has allowed in his career came in a 10-2 loss to the Yankees on June 10th. You throw that out, he has a 0.74 ERA in his other 6 starts. His breaking pitches have been really good. Opponents batting just 115 against his breaking balls so far this season. Cameron gave up 4 hits in 5 shutout innings with 7 strikeouts against the A's on Sunday. And despite Cameron being so good, the Royals have lost 5 of his 7 starts so far this season. Dylan Cease, who struck out 11, gave up 3 hits against the Dodgers on June 10th. He followed that up with not a great outing against L.A. on Monday in L.A. 5 innings, 6 runs given up. And Dylan Cease will be making his 17th career start against the Royals here today, his most against any opponent. Of course, that's because Dylan made so many starts against Kansas City as a member of the Chicago White Sox. Dylan has a 3.50 career ERA against the Royals. He did face them last year with the Padres, gave up 3 runs in 5 innings and a third back on May 31st of last year. As always, thank you for listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Your water should be perfect. When we come back, Jesse Agler, Bob Scanlon have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll be with you for our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.